It's the Under the Ring Report. And now, John the Fleshwound and Cousin Tom. It's still real to them, damn it.
And wrestling fans, we are back. Thanksgiving is just a whisper away. And with me, Cousin Tom.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And we were talking off mic earlier. And since Thanksgiving's coming up, we should just have a What Are We Thankful For show. And I'm not talking about our families, things like that. I'm talking about wrestlers, maybe angles that we're thankful for. What do you think? Think we could talk a few minutes about that?
I think so. I got a few ideas I could bounce off of you, see what you think.
All right. Well, then let's get right to it. If I have to take a look right now at who I'm most thankful for, it has to be top of my list is AJ Styles. And I'm very thankful they gave him the belt for beating Jinder Mahal. But right now, to me,
oh, absolutely,
head and shoulders, probably one of the best wrestlers WWE has had come through that door in a long time. And what I like about it, too, is he can wrestle anybody. It doesn't matter who he wrestles. He can have a good match with them. I mean, I saw him wrestle Ellsworth live. And it was a phenomenal match. And if you remember about a year ago when he wrestled Roman Reigns, that had to be some of the best matches Roman Reigns has had in his career.
Yep, sure was.
So to me, the first guy on my list has to be AJ Styles. What about you?
Well, I was thinking about this. My first guy would have to be, and I'm not an Undertaker guy, so to speak, I guess you'd say. But for a guy that has been around, 30 plus years,
easily,
started with WCW, big Mark Calloway, and he used to walk the ropes that was one of his finisher moves in WCW was he'd walk the ropes and do like this flying clothesline, which was awesome for a 7-footer. I know he's close to being done now, but keep a gimmick. There was a few of the biker Undertaker and stuff, but there's never been a guy with a gimmick like that worked, that he sold it so well, or when he was in character.
Yeah.
And just the career spanning work that the man's done, not counting the WrestleMania. Well, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you right there too, man. That's just a phenomenal, and from what they say too, just a great guy, kind of the leader of the back, and was the guy that everybody looked towards to guide them wherever they were going. So yeah, I would totally go with that. Looking out there too, considering the news that broke over the week, Chris Jericho, man, come on. Chris Jericho, that man has reinvented himself so many times, and I seriously am probably going to go by Wrestle Kingdom 12 just to see that match. That makes me extremely happy, because I was kind of worried maybe the way he was talking, he might be done, because he said he was just kind of getting to that point after that last run with the book of, the list and all that stuff.
Right.
This is cool. This is really cool. I mean, these are matches that, as wrestling fans, we are living in the golden age part 2 of professional wrestling, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And when he made that announcement, the Twitter wrestling universe exploded. I mean, all across the board. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, the funny thing is because I'm such a nerd when it comes to wrestling, I was up early in the morning because I knew the New Japan event was going on, so I was kind of following it through Twitter to see what was going on. And when that first broke, I had to go through and take a couple looks at other Twitter accounts and see if I was crazy or not, because I was like, there's no way in hell this is going on. But I do recall, because I follow them on Twitter, and I know that they had been doing this back and forth for a while, and I just assumed it was because of Jericho's cruise. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd see him show up, to challenge Omega for Wrestle Kingdom 12.
All I thought was, the whole Twitter feud was a build-up for an announcement that he was going to be on the cruise, because they had already announced Cody and the other members of the Bullet Club for the cruise. So I just assumed that's what was happening.
Yep, but I give him credit, man. That's phenomenal stuff right there.
Yeah, Jericho has come a long way since his list of 1,000 moves.
But the sad part about it too is if people in WCW had really known what they had, we might be still having a place where there's 2 federations still. That's the thing. And because they didn't appreciate what they had.
Him as a cruiserweight, and they weren't going to move him.
Chris Jericho is on my list for wrestlers this year that I'm very thankful for. How about you?
Okay, this is a little bit outside the box. Instead of a wrestler, I'm going to go with an angle, and that would be the double turn. And one of my favorite double turns was the Stone Cold Steve Austin Bret Hart match.
Okay, especially considering it's that time of the year.
passed out in the sharpshooter.
Uh-huh.
When they went into that match, Steve was the one putting the heat on Brett. Brett was supposed to be the babyface. And after that match was over, you could, even though Steve was still supposed to be kind of a heel character, that's when his character kind of switched gears and the fans got behind him. Mm-hmm. In turn, Brett became the heel without trying to be the heel, took off. But when you got two guys that can tell a story, and when it's over, both of their characters have changed and progressed into something else, and then they go from there. I think that's awesome.
Well, like Hogan Rock, that was another example of that.
The crowd too. I mean, that crowd was not letting Hogan out of there as a heel.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, I'm with you, man.
That was fabulous.
Those are cool things. Other thing I take a look at, and it's funny, is I'm very thankful we have the WWE Network. After we talked last week, after watching the 30 for 30 with Ric Flair. So after that, it had me thinking. I wanted to go back and see some of those old matches. And, you kind of go down the rabbit hole and you get lost, and it's like, how did I spend 4 hours watching wrestling? But there were some cool things, because you know what, too? I didn't watch the Stone Cold podcast with Ric Flair last year. And the funny thing was, I watched that, and there was way more info in there than there was in the documentary. Some things I had no idea. I mean, he's talking about some things he was doing. He had a story about after his plane crash, when he was in bed at the hospital, he called this guy over and he goes, you need to do me a favor. He's like, what? He goes, you need to get in my bag. He goes, I have a letter in there. Everything. Well, there's a love letter to some woman he was going out with. And he goes, if my wife finds that. And I mean, those are stories. There's a lot of those. And trust me, I mean, after watching the documentary, going back to the network and watching some of that stuff is even better. I mean, there's also, he told a story about how great Vince McMahon was. And he said that Vince McMahon would do whatever he could to help him out. He said at one time, Vince McMahon loaned him $800,000. And after,
really?
Yes, that's the thing. He said, Vince said, no problem, loaned him the money. And then after a little bit, Vince told him, he goes, you know what, Rick, if you can't pay it back, I'll wipe it clean. Don't worry about it. And Rick said, he goes, you know what, though? He goes, he had his retirement match and he got his WrestleMania check, and he wrote right on the back and paid for it and gave it right back to Vince McMahon and paid him off. And he said, that's the kind of guy. And the thing is that a lot of people know the Vince McMahon character, but they don't know Vince McMahon, the man. And you know what? He sounds like a pretty straight up guy that really gives a shit about people. So like I said, that's why I'm thankful for the network. There are so many things that you can go back and find. And I hope they keep doing things like that, because to hear those stories, it's okay to watch the wrestling matches, but I like to hear like the Table for Three things, the interviews they do with stuff. And I mean, if you haven't, you've got to go back. They used to do the Round Table, Legends of Round Table or something back in the day. You need to watch those. They don't do them anymore, but I mean, it was usually JR, Mean Gene Okerlund, and then 3 other folks, depending whatever. And they'd have a topic, like Kevin Nash was on there and they were talking about the NWO and how it started. But you also had Michael Hayes there. The other good ones, there was ones where Bischoff was there, Foley was there, Hayes, and they had this argument about how Bischoff wanted to put WWF out of business and how they felt. And it was a really good show. And I'm kind of sad they don't do it anymore, but there's about 15 episodes or so there. And it's a must watch. You have to dig in the vault to find it, but it is worth watching.
Well, I'm guilty. I was on it last night for a couple hours.
Yep.
And I went in for one thing and ended up staying for a few hours on other stuff. But I got hooked on the Kevin Owens documentary.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet.
Especially the stuff when he was with Ring of Honor and beforehand when he was, Kevin Steen and, Jimmy Jacobs was, well, he didn't go by Jimmy Jacobs, but, he was there and, you could see how they have a bond there and everything. But, it was fascinating. But, I woke up with a controller laying across my chest in the middle of the night, like, oh, crap, I'm still on the network.
Just keeps rolling more and more and more. But I mean, for fans of wrestling, I'm very thankful we have that, because there's a lot of stuff that, I remember watching as a kid, but as you go back, you either appreciate it more or you kind of go, oh, that wasn't that great. So that's why it's cool to be able to go back and watch some of that stuff and just kind of have it, in a different era. I mean, that's at least 25 to 30 years since a lot of that stuff I watched for the first time. So it's kind of cool to go in at a different mindset and appreciate it in a different way than when I first saw it. All right, Tom. So one more thing.
I'm trying to think of one more thing.
Come on now. Come on.
Well, I'm giving out my age here, but the other thing I'm thankful for was being able to enjoy this third phase of of wrestling.
Yeah.
And by 3 phases, I mean the first phase was the rockin' 80s with the WWF with Hogan and Piper, Lauper, Captain Lou, and all those guys. And then into the Monday Night Wars. And, that was right in my wheelhouse. College.
That's what brought me back to wrestling.
College days. Yeah. Me too. I got out of it and got back in, and being able to experience that and how it became everyday person at work was following it, and their kids were following it, and it was all over television and
the internet.
They started, wrestlers started showing up in movies, and it was mainstream.
Well, you know what, too? That's how the Under the Ring Report started, because of that resurgence of wrestling. That's why I decided I was going to do that.
I know that.
Yeah. After watching it so many times, I'm
now,
like, yeah.
And we've touched on it before, but now you have so many different avenues that you can explore, and different. There's a little bit of everything out there, depending on what your tastes are, and it's easier to find, easier to get to. Doesn't cost a lot of money. If you're holding down a full-time job and you choose to pay a subscription for something, it's affordable. It's not like they're asking $100 a month for something. Yeah. It's just amazing the amount of things that you can find, and with Twitter and social media, how you can stay connected to things that are happening halfway around the world. So it's like you said, it's the golden age times 2.
Yeah. A perfect example is Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore. You can watch that on Twitch now, which is amazing.
That was just the first time, right, this week?
Yep. And they're doing a show here in a few weeks in Waukesha, and that's going to be live on Twitch. So I think that's great. They do it. I believe Wrestle Circus does it. There's a few other organizations that are getting into it. So it's, it's things that back in the day, I'm not going to make it to California to watch, something over there or whatever. Now it's right there. And if it's not there, someone's put it on YouTube, or someone has a service like the Fight app. You can watch things like that. There's so many ways to catch up. It's amazing to be a wrestling fan in this day and age.
Well, even last night, Billy Corgan's NWA title match, 10 pounds of gold.
What'd you think of that, by the way?
All you had to do was log into Facebook Live and watch it.
Did you get a chance to watch it live?
No, I didn't. I saw that I wasn't able to at the time to get on to see it.
It was,
so I had to catch up afterwards.
It was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything that was gonna knock it right out of the park, but it was okay for their first thing. What
I'm saying is, if you're promoting a new business and you're trying to get off the ground, throw it on there and start.
Yeah, that's the best part about it, is you're going to get people to care about what you've got. Plus, you've got Lucha Underground just announced season 4 is coming. So I mean, there are so many different ways to watch wrestling. If you're not finding something you want, then you really don't like wrestling. That's kind of what I say.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of summarizes my last point there about being thankful for this third phase that we're in. I mean, you can't go wrong.
That's true. All right. Well, those are the main things we're thankful for. We're also very thankful that you're taking a chance to listen to our show. Hope you're enjoying what we've got going on. If you get a chance, leave us a review and tell us what you think of the show and how we're doing. Also, coming up, we're almost through the end of December. Coming up in December and the end of the year, we'll be having our yearly awards that we feel. We'll have those set up, and we'll put some voting out there for folks, too, to let their opinions be known to us as we kind of come up with our best wrestlers, best angles, things like that throughout the year. And that'll be coming up at the end of December. Cousin Tom, thank you very much for being with us. Very thankful that you're here with us on the Under the Ring Report.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be part of the show.
All right. We will catch you guys next week here on the Under the Ring Report.
This is Dan the Beast Server, 3-time Ultimate Fight champion, and you're listening to Under the Ring Report.
Follow the Under the Ring Report on Twitter at UTRR Podcast. You can subscribe to the Under the Ring Report on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, or visit undertheringreport.com. Thanks for listening to the Under the Ring Report.